Thank you, Jed. Our next inductee is one of the most decorated players in Connecticut college soccer history, and now he coaches his college team, the UConn Huskies. And during his time at UConn, 1998 through 2001, Chris Gbandi led the Huskies to the NCAA title in 2000 and received the Hermann Trophy as the most outstanding player in the nation. And he was the College Cup most outstanding defensive player the same year. Along with the Hermann Trophy, Chris was a three-time All-American and the Big East Rookie of the Year in 1998. All Big East, all 4 years at UConn, and three-time Big East Defender of the Year. He was the first player selected in the 2002 MLS SuperDraft and played professionally for Dallas FC, played for FK Haugesund in Norway, and the Liberian National Team in 2004. He's currently the head coach of the UConn Huskies after coaching 6 years at Northeastern University. And amazingly, Chris is only the fourth coach at UConn since 1937. Wow. Chris's former coach, Ray Reed, described Chris this way. He was a warrior. He would compete to win no matter what he was doing, whether it was soccer or chess or something else. He made practice better, and that galvanized the team around him. Everyone followed. He was ultra competitive. And anyone who saw Chris on the field has to agree with Ray's words. And it's evident today in his ultra-competitive Huskies who continue to build back into a national power. So for his outstanding achievement as one of the all-time great players at UConn and beyond, please welcome Chris Gbandi into the Connecticut Soccer Hall of Fame.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bill, for all those nice words. Certainly, one of the things I get asked all the time is, how does a kid from Houston, Texas, because once you grow up in Texas, you're playing football or you're playing football. Right? So how does a kid from Texas end up in Connecticut? And there's two reasons. One's luck, and the other is women's basketball. Right? So obviously growing up in Texas, back then there's not the internet, you don't know much about other schools. And there's only one school at the time in Texas that had Division I soccer, and that's SMU. So everybody that grew up in Texas wanted to go to SMU. Certainly at the time, for whatever reason, they didn't think I was good enough, which was fine, and I think it just motivated me. But, right, I'm sitting with my parents and watching TV, and all of a sudden I just see this team on, Rebecca Lobo, Jen Rossetti, Nikisha Sales. Connecticut, where is that? And the luck part comes, Ray got over and took the job in 1996. And certainly he took it pretty late where they're looking for players, and he just so happened to be looking for players at the Tampa Sun Bowl. And last game, our team was just okay. Nobody's even heard of a team from Houston. And George Kiefer at the time, tired. Our game's at 7 o'clock at night. He's been there since, 8 in the morning. And we have some college coaches in here. You can imagine you go on those recruiting trips. You want to go home when it's 7 o'clock, I don't care how great the team is. I'll see you another time. But it just so happened this day, I'm going to stick around and see what's happening. I don't know. That might be a player or two. And lo and behold, on our team, it was Ryan Brown and Eddie Rivera came to University of Connecticut, and George ended up seeing Sam Forco and I that night, and certainly recruited us from Houston to come up here. So on the national championship team, we had 5 guys from Houston on our team, which is a crazy story. So how lucky am I to end up in the University of Connecticut? So certainly to be standing up here, I'm always a little bit weird when you start reading all that in a team sport, right? Big East Player of the Year, Hermann Trophy, right? If I was Tom Brady, I'll take that, right? If I was Michael Jordan, I'll take it, because ultimately, if you have a top player in basketball, you can win a lot of games. If you have a top player in football, quarterback, you can win a lot of games. But you know how it is. You can have a top player in soccer and they can double, triple team him, and all of a sudden now it becomes a 1-0 game and you're scrambling. So I'm standing up here because of so many other people, and I mean my teammates, right? What a group of men that we had. To this day, if I check my phone right now, there's people probably texting us on WhatsApp, right? We still keep in touch. We're still close together because the mentality of that group, and they've all grown up now, great husband, right? Great fathers. And I think a lot of times we talk about talent, talent, the word talent. And nothing was ever talked about in our group about talent. How hard you work, how much growth do you have? How resilient are you? Do you want to get better today? And the biggest thing we all talked about was legacy. Do you leave something behind that people remember you by? So when you come to University of Connecticut in '97, I think they're 8-8, and then you walk in the door and Ray says, hey, you know what? We're going to win a national championship. This guy's crazy. What? 8-8? How are you going to win a national championship? But he's like, hey, you know what? I think we have enough good players. I think you guys work hard enough. I think you guys love each other and want to compete. Back then, there's no phone, so we had to talk to each other, right? But the biggest thing he said is, you have to leave something behind, and the only way you do that, you have to win together. You have to win together. And to this day, the legacy that we have, I will forever be connected with those guys. And certainly, they've been a huge part of my life. So, real quick, just 2 more minutes here. If you're a UConn Huskies soccer player, I know we have a few in the room. Do you mind standing up so we can just give you a hand? Right, so got my teammates. Come on. So we're certainly a fraternity, right? Wherever we go, we remember each other. And I'll be pretty quickly, obviously, I have my wife and 2 wonderful kids here who I'm trying to get away from the phone, and they're doing a decent job for at least 2 minutes. But I've been so fortunate with my kids and how passionate they are about soccer, how they smile and they love each other. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. My wife, Crystal, and I met in Dallas, so we're both from Texas. And I'll never forget walking up to her after I was done playing and say, hey, I'm going to be a coach at the University of Connecticut. And she's like, oh yeah, great. How much are they going to pay you? I go, no, I'm going to be a volunteer coach. I'm not making any money. And just listening to her saying, hey, is that what you want to do? I'll get what I have to do. At the time she was working, yeah, I'll make it work. We'll find a way. And I'll end with this. So every single thing I've accomplished in my life, I've written it down and put it above my bed. Right, so you spoke about I'm the 4th head coach in UConn soccer history. I don't know if you all remember what number I wore when I was here, right? I wore number 4, all right? So I told my wife I want to be a head coach at 36. I wrote it down, I put it on my bed, right? Guess what age I was when I got the head coaching job at University, or Northeastern University? 36. So go to Northeastern University, take over, and you're like, well, you know what? We're going to win a championship there. It wasn't going to happen. It was a tough place, right? You had a team. When I walked in, half the team hated each other. They were fighting, they're scrapping, right? But we figured it out. So I'm like, well, that worked the first time, so I'm going to write it again. So I put it down. I wanted to be head coach of Brown, Dartmouth, because at the time I was coaching in Dartmouth, UConn, and SMU by the age of 42. And guess what age I became the head coach at University of Connecticut? At the age of 42. So I say that story mostly for my kids because I give them a hard time about writing things down and going after it. But I've been very, very fortunate to accomplish so much in my life. But so many people have been there to help me along the way. Right, from my teammates, right, Sam Forco, Mansour Jai, Roberto Vargas. Those are guys I grew up with and love to this day. So I've known Sam Forco since I was 5 years old. We went and grew up in Houston together, went to University of Connecticut together, and now I think we're like 10 minutes away from each other. I think sometimes our wife thinks we're somehow married, but and then Mansour Jai I met at ESP, ESP event back then. Obviously all the high school players will come together and play. So certainly those 2 guys have been huge in my life, and I just want to say obviously thank you to my wife, my kids, players, alums, and obviously everybody on here. And then I'll end with this, I promise, last one. We really need your help, right? We need your help. We're trying to build a dynasty at the University of Connecticut. We have the players, we have young Connecticut players. So there's two ways you could go in college athletics now. You can get a bunch of transfers and bring them in and try to change everything, or you can do it the way we're trying to do it. Have young players that are hungry, that are dynamic, all right? And you have them develop. In order to do that, at times you get hit on the chin a little bit, but in order to do that, we need your help. We really need your help. So come out, support. Thank you so much for this honor. All right?